Alright, so in the last tutorial we took a look at recursion. We're going to start moving into data, storing data structures. So we're going to look at declaring and using arrays. So let's go ahead and make a new class. I'm going to include my main method, and I'm just going to call this arrays. Hit finish. Alright, let's take a look at creating a simple array. So I'm going to make it of type double. So you write the word W, or double rather, and then open close bracket, and then the name of my array. So I'm just going to name it values equals open curly brace, close curly brace, semicolon. Now all of your the items you want stored in your array are going to go within this curly brace. So I'm just going to type in some arbitrary numbers, and Eclipse automatically assumes, because you put a double there, that there's a 0.0 behind it. Alright, so right now you're going to get an error saying, this value of local variable is not used. So we can actually just quickly SYSO, holding control and spacebar, I can auto insert system.print, and I could just type in values, open close bracket, and then put a 0 in there. Now I'm going to hit F11 to run that, and you're going to see that it spit out 12.0, which is the floating value of the first slot. Because in arrays, the slots are organized 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, say we'd like to print out all of the values, or all of the elements within my array. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do syso, and then just write, this is the value in array location 0. Okay, and then I'm going to do syso again, and these are all of the values stored within the array values. Alright, so the way to do that is I'm going to do a simple for loop, and I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to say, as long as I is less than or equal to values dot length, I'm going to increment I, and we know that I is less than the value of length because I is equal to 0. And all I want to do is I want to sys out values. But look what I do here. Inside of here, I'm going to put the letter I. So what it's going to do is it's going to start at 0 here, and it's going to continuously print out the values on a new line. Alright, so let's hit F11 here and see what happens. So you can see, close that out. Go back to our console. Starting at 12 all the way to 25. It rendered out each one of those values because every time it ran through my loop 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through. Okay, now let's see what happens if we put values at length -1 and I hit F11 here. Let's go ahead and hit continue anyway. I'm going to run it through here. There we go. You can see that we still get up to 25. The reason is values.length is actually counting from, not from 0, it's counting from 1. So it's saying the length of values is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But the index location, so the length of this array starts at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But the actual indexes of the array, which is here, which is 0, starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the actual indices are at 7, but the length of the array is 8. So what we're saying here is we want to go, as long as I is less than 7, we want to split these values out. Alright, so let's talk about arrays a little more in detail. This array currently holds 7 indices locations, right? So it holds about 7 slots. At runtime, you cannot adjust the length of an array. So later we're going to talk about other objects that are dynamic, which scale up. Right now this array is static, which means it can't get any bigger or smaller. So something that I like to do is I like to make a final variable, and I call it length, and I make it equal to, let's say, 50. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll take this length keyword and I'll just say double values equals new double, and I drop length in there. So that kind of gives me enough space for now for 50. When I go here where I say double values equals this, it says rename values, right? What I'm doing here is by creating a size here, I can't sort of write these values in yet. I have to do that within my array dynamically. So right now it's going to give me an error because I'm sort of creating another length. I'm assigning these values to it. So let's see what happens if I hit F11. There's errors, and this is the errors here. And when I highlight over it, it says rename values. So how do I get these values inside of my array? Well, you have to do it within a for loop. Alright, so let's take a very simple look at inserting values within a loop, right? I can actually do it. Let's delete this guy with my scanner class. So let's say, let's go ahead and do scanner, and I should get an error. And I'm going to highlight over that, and it says import scanner. So I'm going to left click on that. It says import java.util scanner. So scanner in equals new scanner system.in. Okay. And for now, let's just get rid of everything but this. Alright, just so we're kind of... Now again, we're going to have a couple of errors because, again, it's saying here that the value of the local value is not used. We aren't using it. And it's going to do the same thing here for n. It's saying we're not using it, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say while, we're bringing back our old while loop, in dot has next double. Let's see if we could find that. There we go, next double. So all we're saying here is while I'm inserting a new value in here, we're going to keep running this while loop. So I can say if our current size, right? And so we don't know what current size is because we haven't created a variable yet. So let's just say current size is equal to 0. So if current size, which is equal to 0, is less than our array's length, so we see values.length, we want to do something. And what we want to do is we want to input in, so inside of current size, we're going to say values current size equals in dot next double. So let's talk about this a little bit. Every time I insert a value and hit enter, it's going to insert it into the array values. But what slot is it inserting it into? Well, it's storing it in the 0 slot, which is indices 0. So current size, so value current size is equal to 0. So every time I enter it in, but how do we get to the next level? How do we get to the next size or the next indice? Well, right after this, we're just going to type current size plus plus. Now, all that's saying is every time we do plus plus, it's saying current size equals 0. We get to our next line, we're going to add 1 to it. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And so the way that we would get out of this while in dot has next double is we have to enter something that is not a double. Alright? And then once that's done, let's go ahead and we'll exit our while loop, which would end here. And then we can do a for loop. Let's see. And we'll do I equals 0, I is less than or equal to values dot length minus 1 I plus plus, which will increment it by 1. So I'm going to do values I, and I just want to sys out that. And then let's just sys out again values stored in the array. Alright, I'm going to hit F11 here. And you're going to say, well, what's going on? So I'm going to enter 12, 13. I'm going to enter a bunch of values. We've never prompted the user for input. Then I'm going to hit A, and I'm going to hit enter. And you could see, what did it do? A is not a double value. So it said values stored in the array, 1223, these are all the numbers we entered, 1223 up to 85. But what are all these zeros? Well, all of these zeros are the leftover array spots from our length, which is 50. So that's the end of this arrays tutorial. We'll get into further detail with arrays in the next tutorial.